live in interesting times. Today's stories. Israeli President asks Netanyahu to head the next government. Police minister says South Africa would be better off without guns. The third day of climate protests on London's Waterloo Bridge. Prisoners have been released in Myanmar after being granted amnesty. Algerians rally against the top trade union chief. A small step for China. Mars base for teens opens in the desert. South African government and Eskom announce a winter energy plan. Seals, caviar, and oil. The Caspian Sea is under threat from pollution. The U.S. announces Cuba property lawsuits despite EU warnings. Plus, for EBC Sports, Team USA crushes Belgium in international friendlies match. Hello everyone, I'm Anna Kui, bringing you stories from around the globe. And this is Eagle News, Washington, D.C. Israeli President Reuven Rivlin formally hands Benjamin Netanyahu his letter of appointment to start building a coalition government following last week's general election.
לאחר שנועצתי עם נציגי כל הרשימות הנבחרות, בהתייעצות שהייתה לראשונה גלויה ושקופה לכל הציבור, הריני להודיע כי 65 חברי כנסת המליצו עליך, ראש הממשלה היוצא וחבר הכנסת בנימין נתניהו, כמי שתוטל עליו מלאכת הרכבת הממשלה.
זוהי הפעם החמישית שבה אני מקבל על עצמי את המשימה לכונן את ממשלת ישראל. אין זכות גדולה מזאת בחיים הדמוקרטיים. אני מודע היטב לגודל האחריות שמוטלת על כתפיי. ואפעל כשליח העם על כל חלקיו, אלה שבחרו בי ואלה שלא בחרו בי.
South African Minister of Police Becky Cele says he wishes private citizens in the country were not allowed to bear guns, admitting it was a tall order after watching police destroy on Wednesday more than 30,000 illegal firearms that were surrendered or confiscated.
Most of the illegal firearms, they come out legal from the owners, and then there are break-ins, there are house robberies, people are shot, taking the guns, some of them taken from our service, the South African police, killing our members, taking the firearms, sometimes our members naughty, giving the guns out there and all that kind of stuff. It will be better if one day we don't have private citizens having guns at all. It's a tall order going forward, but it would be better if one day only the armed forces, the police and the soldiers that are having the guns.
Protesters blocked traffic on Waterloo Bridge in London for a third day as part of a week of climate protests. The protests were organized by the campaign group Extinction Rebellion, which was established last year in Britain by academics and has become one of the world's fastest-growing environmental movements. Police said Tuesday nearly 300 people have been arrested in ongoing climate change protests in London that brought parts of the British capital to a standstill. Demonstrators began blocking off a bridge and a major central road junctions on Monday at the start of a civil disobedience campaign that also saw action in other parts of Europe. London's Metropolitan Police said that by Tuesday evening, 290 arrests had been made. The police statement said, "We expect demonstrations to continue throughout the coming weeks."
They're learning these things in school. A lot of them are realizing that, they would like to be a conservationist or, marine biologist when they're older, but actually they're not going to be able to do these jobs because everything's going to be falling apart and it's going to be chaos and we're not going to have these ecosystems that we can protect and look after.
Et c'est un moyen assez fun en fait de rassembler les gens parce que même les gens qui font pas de skateboard, même les gens qui sont pas ici pour la proteste, ils marchent sur le côté du pont et ils s'arrêtent, ils prennent des photos, des vidéos parce que faire du skateboard sur Waterloo Bridge, c'est un truc que tu feras sûrement une fois dans ta vie.
The arrest figure includes 3 men and 2 women who were detained at the UK offices of energy giant Royal Dutch Shell on suspicion of criminal damage. Campaigners daubed graffiti and smashed a window at the Shell Center building. The majority of those arrested were seized for breaching public order laws and obstructing a highway. The protests saw more than 1,000 people block off central London's Waterloo Bridge and lay trees in pots along its length. Later, people set up camps in Hyde Park in preparation for further demonstrations throughout the week.
Tu vois des gens avec le même état d'esprit et tu comprends qu'en fait, il y a possibilité de faire bouger les choses. Plus on est nombreux, plus ça sera facile. Là, c'est déjà le troisième jour de suite qu'on tient le pont. Et c'est quand même, on a 5 locations dans Londres qui sont bloquées. C'est quand même un événement de grosse ampleur qui fait beaucoup.
Prisoners leave insane prison in Myanmar's capital, Yangon, after being released. An NGO advocating for political prisoners said Myanmar started releasing more than 9,500 prisoners on Wednesday as part of its annual amnesty marking the country's traditional New Year. But Reuters journalists Wah Lone and Kaso U will not be included. President Win Myint announced in a statement Wednesday the pardons were granted on humanitarian grounds during the Buddhist New Year festival known as Thingyan. Win Myint said a total of 16 foreign prisoners are expected to be pardoned and deported, while 9,535 local prisoners are expected to be freed. Wah Lone and Kaso U were sentenced to 7 years under the Official Secrets Act after reporting on the military's atrocities committed against the Rohingya Muslim minority in strife-torn Rakhine State, work which they received a Pulitzer Prize for on Monday. Bo Ki, founder of the Assistance Association for Political Prisoners, or AAPP, said they will not be included. We got this information from an insane prison source. Journalists should not be imprisoned. That directly contradicts with democracy. Reuters also reported that Wah Lone and Kaso U were not among those being pardoned. According to AAPP, there are currently 46 political prisoners in Myanmar's jails, and around 300 others are facing trials linked to political activities. By 6 p.m., Bo Ki told AFP he had received word of only 2 political prisoners released, and the amnesty process might continue through the next day. Myanmar has freed thousands from its jail since a military junta ceded power in 2011 after 5 decades of brutal repression. But John Quinley of Fortify Rights said Wednesday's amnesty should have extended to anti-war activists Lum Zong and Zhao Jet, who were jailed last year for demonstrating against the decades-long fighting between the military and ethnic Kachin insurgents. 8,000 unionists demonstrated outside Algeria's top trade union office in the capital Algiers, calling for its chief to quit over his ties to ousted President Abdelaziz Bouteflika.
سيدو مساعد عنده علاقة كبيرة مع روسين سيستم، هو من العصابة أكبر عصابة هو على راسها، هو اللي يأيدهم، هو اللي دار الباطل بالخدامة. نحو سيدي السائل، هذا إنسان لغم من ألغام اللي خلاها النظام السابق. هكذايا، هذا إنسان يمثل حتى واحد، إحنا كعمال نمثل قرابة 34% من هذا المجتمع. رانا نش راضيين به، ارحل. هناك نية خبيثة لتحطيم الاقتصاد الوطني وارجعنا إلى سنوات دمار، سنوات التسعينات، وهذه التي لا يتقبلها العمال. نحن جموع الأموال جئنا إلى هنا للمطالبة بحق الدولة الجزائرية وإعادة بناء الاقتصاد الوطني والبنية التحتية للجزائر.
Coming up, a small step for China, Mars base for teens opens in the desert. South African government and Eskom announce a winter energy plan. Seals, caviar, and oil, the Caspian Sea is under threat from pollution. The U.S. announces Cuba property lawsuits despite EU warnings. Eagle News, Washington, D.C. will be right back. Welcome back. You are watching Eagle News, Washington, D.C. A Mars-based simulator sits in the middle of nowhere in China's Gobi Desert, but instead of housing astronauts training to live on the red planet, the facility is full of teenagers. Surrounded by barren hills in northwest Gansu province, Mars Base 1 opened to the public on Wednesday with the aim of exposing teens and soon tourists to what life could be like on the planet.
我认为我们提供的这个环境是刺激青少年勇气、探索的这种决心，包括他们能够在这儿能感受到，哇，原来航天员这个职业，如果我想在火星有一天生存下来是很难的，这是第一。第二，我们不是想让他光是热爱航天，我们希望他是通过对火星模拟生活的感受，能唤起他们对现在地球能有的生活的珍惜和保护。因为他在，而我们呢是不断在解决问题，而不是说，因为更多的人是批判是很容易的，那么但是我们呢是不断的去要让它变得更好。那么同时的话呢，对于我们来说，我们现在已经首先这个基地还是在地球，它不是在火星。第二呢，我们已经选择了一个非常匹配像火星的一个地貌，但是地貌是不是最重要的？我认为最重要的是这里头的内容。
The facility's unveiling comes as China is making progress in its efforts to catch up to the United States and become a space power, with ambitions of sending humans to the moon someday. The white-collared base has a silver dome and 9 modules, including living quarters, a control room, a greenhouse, and an airlock. The teenagers don spacesuits and go on treks in the desert where they can explore caves in the Martian-like landscape, the closest town of Jinchang, some 25 miles away. The company behind the project, C-Space, plans to open the base, currently an educational facility, to tourists in the next year. C-Space had help from the Astronaut Center of China and the China Intercontinental Communications Center, a state television production organization, in its quest to create a realistic environment. While teenagers pretend to be on Mars, China is planning to send a probe to the real red planet next year.
太空，因为觉得那里面星空啊什么的都很漂亮、很神秘。然后，因为我们学校有一次组织去开那个航天员的报告会，然后见了一些航天员，听了他们在太空的，就是什么操作啊，是在太空的生活的方式啊，听了以后就真的想当一次航天员。
就是很有意义吧，就是。感受到了，就是确实感受到了在火星上生活是一种怎样的感受。
South African Minister of Public Enterprises, Pravin Gordhan, tells of a 9-month winter plan that will carry South Africa through with electricity supply for the rest of the year. The troubled energy supplier Eskom plans to strengthen the caliber of leadership in order to meet the required needs to execute a more efficient electricity supply to the country. The South African government promised Wednesday to ease power outages that have plagued the continent's most advanced economy a month before key national elections. Power utility giant Eskom imposed severe and highly unpopular power rationing known as load shedding for 10 consecutive days in March. Shops, offices, factories, and homes were plunged into darkness for hours, sparking widespread anger that became one of the biggest political threats facing President Cyril Ramaphosa and the ruling ANC party in the run-up to the May 8 polls. Speaking to journalists at a power station in the central Free State province, Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan announced plans to ensure minimal power outages for the next 5 months. The minister said they have a better understanding of the issues and certainly have a clear plan. Eskom blamed last month's power cuts on plant failures, depleted diesel stocks, and the impact of Cyclone Idai in Mozambique, which interrupted imported power transmission lines. With national polls just over a month away, the blackouts have shaken the African National Congress Party, which has held power since the end of apartheid in 1994. For many critics of the ANC, the Eskom blackouts have come to symbolize the price that the public pays for alleged corruption, and mismanagement. Bordered by Azerbaijan, Iran, Kazakhstan, Russia, and Turkmenistan, the 1,000-kilometer-long Caspian is the world's largest inland body of water. It is home to a range of native species, from the seals to Caspian turtles and the famed beluga sturgeon, and also to vast energy reserves estimated at 50 billion barrels of oil. But pollution from the extraction of that oil and gas, along with declining water levels due to climate change, has left many species under threat and the future of the sea itself at risk. Seals waddling along the waterfront were once a common sight in Baku Bay, the Caspian Sea, home of Azerbaijan's capital. Not anymore. Of the more than 1 million seals which inhabited the shores and islands of the Caspian a century ago, fewer than 10% remain, and the species has been declared endangered. Azer Gariev, the head of the Azerbaijan Society for the Protection of Animals, says the seals have for decades been suffering from overhunting and the effects of industrial pollution. In 2003, his group found 750 seal carcasses in just 1 month.
Все те проблемы, которые в результате бездарной антропогенной деятельности человека понесло на себе вот это Аральское море, в результате мы видим за очень короткий промежуток времени, какие колоссальные изменения произошли. Море практически не стало. Каким большим экологическим, экономическим, социальным последствиям привела вся эта катастрофа, мы видим.
As well as the seals and other endemic species including Caspian turtles and the famed beluga sturgeon, the sea boasts vast energy reserves estimated at 50 billion barrels of oil and 300,000 billion cubic meters of natural gas. Pollution from the extraction of that oil and gas, along with declining water levels due to climate change, pose a threat to many species and put the future of the sea itself at risk. The U.S. says a long-delayed law will go into effect next month, allowing lawsuits over property seized by Cuba.
Any person or company doing business in Cuba should heed this announcement. In addition to being newly vulnerable to lawsuits, they could be abetting the Cuban regime's abuses of its own people. Those doing business in Cuba should fully investigate whether they are connected to property stolen in service of a failed communist experiment. I encourage our friends and allies alike to likewise follow our lead and stand with the Cuban people.
When we come back for EBC Sports, Team USA crushes Belgium in international friendlies match. Eagle News Washington, D.C. will return shortly. This is Eagle News, Washington, D.C. I'm Anna Clee. For EBC Sports, Team USA crushed Belgium in an international friendlies match. Eagle News correspondents Alan and Eva Basalahe have the details.
Countdown to the Cup is the current motto of the U.S. women's national soccer team.
And despite facing a surging Belgium club, the United States took care of business, defeating their opponent 6-0. Fans were in the mood for revelry both during and before the match.
We came to watch the U.S. versus Belgium women's national team soccer game. And there's just a lot of festivities going on before the game. Just a lot of people excited to come see Team USA. There's a lot of excitement. Everyone's dressed up. Everyone's wearing the U.S. soccer gear. And yeah, a lot of things going on. So it's pretty exciting here.
I think it's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of kids here, a lot of girls. The U.S. women are playing against Belgium. They're getting ready for the World Cup that's coming this summer. So there's a lot of excitement. Make sure the women play well, make sure they do good heading into the World Cup.
Luckily, it's a national team. They come out here every once in a while. So you have to take the opportunity and go watch them play. Hopefully this year, today, we'll have a victory. Go USA!
For the 20,941 fans in attendance, the women's national team didn't disappoint. pouring in 4 goals in just the first half alone. Carly Lloyd scored back-to-back in minutes 14 and 19, followed by Lindsay Horan in minute 26 and Samantha Mewis in minute 33. The U.S. would continue the goal parade in the second half, with Alex Morgan and Jessica McDonald contributing in minutes 52 and 90 respectively. With the exception of Alex Morgan, all of the U.S. goals were headers.
They say the best defense is a good offense. Your club was on full offense tonight. Talk about the aggressive frame of mind for your club.
Yeah, so we're coming together as a team really well. Obviously, we're getting used to each other's strengths, and it's obviously all coming together. Just showed the last 2 games, so we just want to show some exciting offense, some exciting football for everybody.
So our set pieces were on point today, and I think we scored maybe 5 headers, which was incredible. But it says a lot about our game that we can attack in different ways, and then getting Alex a goal right when she comes in was incredible. So, a different variety of goals today, and I think that's exciting for this team.
20,000 fans, what was it like feeling and feeding off of their electricity and energy?
Yeah, I mean, this venue was amazing. Anytime you play in LA, it's really, really cool, but this one was, you definitely could feel the energy out there.
Are you looking forward to just a few more wins before entering World Cup play?
Yes, I'm definitely looking forward to a few good performances and a few good wins. Really good to build our confidence going into the World Cup, but we also want those hard tests.
Coach Alan Bastian, Eagle News. At one point, it didn't look like Belgium wanted to engage anymore. Do you credit that to the aggressive play of your club?
I can't really speak for them. I think, at times we were, I thought we pressed really well tonight. That was kind of part of our plan, and why we actually, were able to bring in other legs in terms of, to continue to press. It was something we wanted to work on. I think that makes it hard. I think Belgium is actually a very good passing team with very good players. But I think, sometimes when you generate that much pressure, it disrupts your rhythm, and that's exactly what you press.
The U.S. looks poised once again to enter World Cup play as a serious contender.
And with only a handful of games left before June, the United States is eager to get in a few last wins before heading off to France and quite possibly another World Championship.
Reporting from the Bank of California Stadium in Los Angeles, California, this is Eva and Alan for Eagle News, and we are 1 with 25.
Thanks, Alan and Eva. That is today's Eagle News, Washington, D.C. Join us tomorrow for stories that matter to you. Visit our website at Eaglenews.PH and Eaglenewslive.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/EagleNewsPH. Thank you for watching. I'm Anna Kui, and I am 1 with 25.